And now we have a session called The Promise of Public Education, produced by our underwriter, the American Federation of Teachers. And for that, I am so pleased to welcome AFT President Randi Weingarten. And joining Randi on stage are Richard Franklin, President of the Birmingham Local, and Marrianne Hayward, President of the Jefferson County Local. Randi.
So probably it's a little surprising in the South that the teachers union would be underwriting this conversation with the community. But this is who we are as a union. Wouldn't be surprising up in my own hometown, and I want to just say thank you to our students who were amazing up here and spoke truth to power. But we actually started talking about how do we find ways that people take seriously a real conversation about what's real, and put a lot of us both on the spot, but also make sure we start with listening to students and then hearing what we need to do to help ensure that we reach their God-given potential. And so this session is a little bit about Marrianne Hayward and Richard Franklin and myself kind of talking a little bit about our values. Now, big difference between a lot of places that we work and Jefferson County and Birmingham is that in other places, we actually take a bunch of responsibility through collective bargaining contracts. And I'm glad to be here because I was a high school social studies teacher in New York City at, frankly, a vocational high school where my kids won debates on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights in Brooklyn, New York. But these days, I'm not in my own classroom, but I'm in schools all over the nation, in capitals and in community halls, basically doing things very much like this: listening, hearing. And what you hear more often than not are the same needs and desires, regardless of whether folks are in Birmingham or New York City or Chicago or Peoria. We've heard it from students today, excuse me. We'll hear it from parents too. Parents want safe and welcoming schools. Parents and kids want schools that are engaging. They want to focus on the well-being of kids so that no child falls through the cracks. We want our kids to be happy and find joy in learning. We want them to be prepared for life and career, be critical thinkers and knowledge knowers, and be creative. And we want to make sure that those equity issues that were talked about before are really focused on. And when given the choice, as you heard from your mayor-elect, we hear this and see this all the time. Parents want to invest in great neighborhood public schools rather than diverting money to other places. And my friends, this is what I hear from teachers all the time too. And so the real question becomes, how do we make sure that this tremendous pent-up frustration that we're not getting it right all the time, how do we get it right? How do we make sure that every single public school is a place where parents want to send their kids, educators are engaged and want to work, and kids thrive? And so it starts with listening, but my kids actually used to say the following to me. I taught 11th and 12th graders. They used to say, Ms. Weingarten, you can't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk. Now, this was the 90s. That's not so cool anymore to use that terminology, but I've never forgotten it. And one of the things we have done as a union is walk that walk. So over the past 7 years, through something called, the mayor just talked about wanting grants. Well, we have a very, very, very little innovation fund. But our members have given a lot of money to that fund. $7 million In 7 years, we've awarded 45 grants to fund strategies and solutions built on what educators, parents, and communities want for their schools and for their kids. And today, we issued this report. So, for example, some of the things that Birmingham was talking about community schools, wraparound services, we are doing this in McDowell County, West Virginia, the 8th poorest county in the nation, through a public-private partnership. And we have increased graduation rates and decreased teen pregnancy rates, both by double digits. In a place like Peoria, Illinois, a network including the Peoria Public Schools District, the City of Peoria, Illinois Central College, the local chamber, and the Peoria Federation of Teachers jump-started a program to create career pathways from local schools to the healthcare sector to other regional industries. The network, public-private, has increased from 11 employers to now 100, and just last school year, we placed 70 kids in good, decent, middle-class jobs, from high school to work. Now, we should be doing that here too, starting, frankly, with all respect, with Mercedes and other places. In New Haven, Connecticut, the New Haven Federation of Teachers work with school and city administrators to shift school discipline away from traditional punishments like suspensions and move toward restorative justice strategies. And since then, disciplinary issues are down 26%. I can go on, but it starts with listening, and it starts with engaging, and it starts with talking to each other in a way where we're walking in each other's shoes. And that's why we actually wanted to do this in Birmingham today. I thank you for letting us convene this town hall. Thank you very much. And let me just have our two amazing leaders, Marrianne and Richard. Marrianne Hayward is the president of JCFT, and Richard Franklin is the president of the Birmingham AFT. How about this?
Tonight we've heard a lot about partnerships and collaboration, and I would like to ask you for just 1 minute to picture a three-legged stool, because you can't isolate education. So think of that three-legged stool. One of those legs is education. One of those legs is quality health care, and the other leg is economic opportunity. And if any of those legs are broken, the stool won't stand. And what we're trying to do is to get all three of those working together to ensure the success of our students. For them to be able to stand on that stool and reach for success, we have to have all three working together. And that's what we need, collaboration with the community as a whole. That includes business, healthcare, and education.
I've sat on a task force that AFT set up called the Racial Task Force for African American Males. And the union that I'm a part of, I always get a heartfelt, but tonight, it has brought me to tears in this room. It may not go a long way with you, but when I look out, I see Superintendent Herring, Lisa Herring. I see the board members, and we haven't always had that cooperation with each other. And I also see business leaders in the room, the mayor-elect, and I see people that have not always been on the side with the union in public education. The charge that I want you to leave with tonight, it's not enough when we go home and we cut on the TV and we see a student, normally African-American male, in Birmingham being killed and we talk about it. Our job is to do something about it. That is our job. We talk about educators a lot, but we put a lot on them. Let's think about a little bit in the mirror image of We Known and Jackson Nolan. In 2 weeks last year, We had a student get killed going home. The school had to deal with it. The next week, a student at Jackson Nolan was killed. The school had to deal with it. So if we say we're a family and we're a village, let's not talk about it. Let's be there with each other. And I believe that in this room, we have the solutions. Our students have told us what our duties are. And I believe we come together collectively, we can solve these problems, because if we don't, it is spreading. It's like a disease. It's Birmingham today. It's Jefferson County tomorrow. It's Hoover the next day. It's Mountain Brook. It's spreading. But it's our duty to give our kids hope and also give the adults hope. Thank you.
So let me, before we get off the stage, let me ask one question for both of you. And I'm also going to make a commitment from the AFT, which is that if after this town hall, we actually come together in terms of some very important kind of what do we do next? How do we take these concepts that we're all talking about, and how do we make it real so that the students who were up here before have both faith and program? Not just program, but faith and program, if I got that right. How do we walk in each other's shoes? And let me just say this. If we do that, then the AFT will do an Innovation Fund grant to actually create some of that seed money to be able to do this, just like we're doing in Messina, New York, and just like we're doing in McDowell County, West Virginia. But how do we bring, like, what is the first step that you two think of in terms of bringing a community, business, parent, educator, union partnership? What's the first step after tonight?
Well, first, I think we have, as they say, emphasis stages of things already that are in place. When you said that, come to mind about Norwood Resource Center and what they do with us partnering with Norwood community and how we work with the State Department of Education to open back up the school board. But I think collectively, we a fierce urgency of making it bigger, making, like everybody that's in this room, let's not use where we're located, but come together and begin to make a big plan for our districts, because as a county as a whole, we have a lot of what they say failing schools and poverty. So I think if we come together and stop looking at it, say Birmingham and just naming different areas, we come together collectively and come up with a entire plan for all of our districts together, because we suffer because we put ourselves in these little areas. So I think tonight, Randi, you may not understand. This is big what we're doing tonight. So this is the first step, but taking it to the next level, we have the superintendents and school boards, and we begin to work with those partnerships they already have and the partnerships that we have.
I think tonight is a good beginning, because what we have seen tonight is people who are willing to define the problem, because you can't solve a problem until you honestly state what the problem is. And once we can do that, then we can work together for solutions. And so I think tonight is the beginning, and I think that the people who are here tonight who are interested in continuing the conversation, we need to continue the conversation.
So I see I have time for one more question, right? One more. So let me ask this. Marrianne, you and I just spent a couple of hours with some amazing educators, talking to our members from Jeffco. So you and Richard are both sitting here. What do we need to actually say to the community that's represented here about who the teachers are in Jeffco and in the city of Birmingham?
The teachers are caring individuals. The teachers love their students. The teachers are passionate about teaching. And I think sometimes the community doesn't see that. And I think we need to go back to remembering that's who our teachers are. They are good people. And I think that's what you as a community need to see is see our teachers for who they really are. And to help us solve the problem, like the mayor-elect said, that if that nobody wants to have a failing school. When a student fails, teachers cry. It's not that we're trying to fail students. It hurts when the students fail. I remember as a teacher, I felt that way too. And so I think that's what the first thing you need to realize is teachers are upset when the school fails.
Teachers are the backbone of the student's life. One of the speakers that spoke, one of the students, said the amount of time they spend. It made me think about when we have snow in Alabama, how we shut everything down. And we had a situation a couple of years ago where it was shut down and the students were left at the school. The teachers stayed there, even if they had kids and families. They spent the night with the kids. We even had a bus driver actually pull over and stay with the kids until they came to pick them up. I think often that we have to continue to remind the community of the great things that we do. Kids that we talk about homeless, we talk about poverty, kids that are hungry, but who do you think feed them? Take money out of their pocket to make sure they have extra food, not just for lunch. The teachers do, and other employees that work in these school districts. So I think we have to remind you of that and also work together to solve these issues, because it may not be your child today, but who knows what the future holds for any of us tomorrow.